Welcome to the 2021 Royal Rumble review. I'm going to say this. I didn't have great expectations for this Royal Rumble. I wasn't sure if it was going to be good or bad. Particularly, I don't watch the product. Look, you guys know how I feel. Raw turned me off many months ago. SmackDown got so bad, I got turned off on top of it, and I hadn't been watching NXT. So even though I've heard NXT and seen a couple of highlights that NXT has been good with Roman Reigns on it, I still have no interest in looking at Raw or SmackDown or NXT. So I've been going into this. I have gone into this, well, with very low expectations. I didn't expect this to be good. But I will say this. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't. I'm not saying it was top grade. But you could say this was a decent pay-per-view with things that I do not agree with. Now, I did not watch the kickoff show because that would have been almost 5 hours and I wasn't going there. But I did hear that Charlotte and Asuka lost their titles. Don't really care. I didn't really care about Asuka and Charlotte having the titles. I don't care that Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax got it back. Those titles are a waste of time. I'd rather see the hood rats of Impact Wrestling, fire and flavor of Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan than look at a Nia Jax or a Shayna Baszler, which Shayna Baszler is the better of the two. That's just it. Now, the opening was the WWE title from Raw. The weakest of the entire thing. Now, I saw the video package and I heard and seen the highlights before this pay-per-view came out. And I thought this was so freaking weak between Goldberg and... I don't know why they put Drew McIntyre with Goldberg. I have no clue why. But then I realized, what else does Drew have? The best thing he had was Goldberg. And I'm not even saying that's good. Because he was off TV. And that at least gave something. Because they kept putting him on TV every week. And I'm not saying, and I'm making this clear, I'm not saying Goldberg is a good thing to have. But I am saying at least it took him off TV. So I'm sure some people was a little interested seeing what he was going to do when he came back. So once Goldberg came into the mix, I didn't give a damn. Why am I going to care about Goldberg? I don't care about Goldberg, particularly that it makes no sense for Goldberg to win the match. There's no reason for him to be there. And hearing that he did not even believe Drew had respect, his entire stick since he won at WrestleMania last year was respect. So it made it worse. Now, was the match good? We got 3 spears from Goldberg. And we got about 2 claymores from a Drew. Within about 4 minutes, the match was pretty much, 4 to 6 minutes, the match was over. And during that match, if you looked at Goldberg, dude, he was dripping with sweat. He looked completely tanked after the first 2 minutes. And he was dripping with sweat. And Goldberg was never a sweater. It just looked bad. And I'm not against Goldberg. The guy is still in phenomenal shape for being over... Well, he's got to be over 50. He's older than me. And he's in better shape because I can't exercise the way I want. I'm a mess. So I'm not taking anything away from his great shape. But he's not ring shape. He tanks. And it didn't really make the match look great. And then after it was over, and he lost, he went up to Drew and said, "You passed. You passed." Really? He passed. He passed. They're in my face. That sounded so half-assed to say he passed. He could have said, "I was wrong. I was wrong about you." Instead of trying to make it about him saying, "You passed." Anybody else would probably say he's passing the torch because he's saying you did what I wanted you to do to show how great you are. But to me, no. It just was trash. I'm sorry. After what happened with Undertaker and Goldberg turned me off to Goldberg. I don't want to see him in the ring anymore. Not because I hate the guy, but because he just doesn't look good in the ring. Moving on. Carmella versus Sasha Banks. Now, I didn't expect this to be a great match. And it wasn't a great match. It was an okay match. And I will say 3 things about Carmella. 1, having Reginald, or Reggie, if that's his name, it was good to see that she has a sidekick who's a manager. It really helps her character out. And she's more entertaining with a manager, a sidekick. Second, her ring work has gotten better. Not saying she's great, but it does show she has improved a bit. Because for most of that match, it wasn't bad. But I have to admit, when she decided after she decided to do that suicide dive to Sasha, she almost broke her freaking neck like Lita did. I think I got the shot. It's in my face if I got it. The girl almost face planted and half her body was folding behind her back. It just looked bad what she did. But I will say that she didn't look that bad. Third and final and most foremost. Look, I love me a good looking woman. Carmella's a damn good looking woman. She got this. She got some nice looking boobies right there, baby. But I do wish she had gone for something similar to Sasha Banks. Because as much as I wouldn't have minded if she showed some, well, you know, it was a distraction to see that she had to constantly adjust her bra because she was worried that something was going to pop out. I don't know if her boobs got bigger. Personally, if they did, I know that Corey Graves is enjoying that. But it was a distraction to see that she was constantly worried that her boobs were going to spill out of her top. I'm just being honest here. Doesn't mean I don't like seeing it. I'm just saying as a objective reviewer, seeing how a wrestler has to a certain extent improved does not mean she has thought about her ring attire. She should have been more careful with it. That's just me. You guys tell me below. Now, we got the Women's Royal Rumble. I was pleasantly surprised how it turned out. Now, we had a few people well, Jillian Hall coming back was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't surprised about Tori Wilson. She's done it a couple of times with Kelly. No problem. But she's in my face, baby. Victoria coming back. I screamed her name. Guys, I've always loved only a few women in WWE. Only a few. Mickie James is one. That Power 10 powerhouse of a beautiful woman who's married to Nick Aldis. You had Molly Holly. Didn't enjoy her. Not taking anything away from a Trish Stratus. I love me a Trish. But Victoria was the top. I love me Victoria. That was the one I loved. When she went to Impact Wrestling, became Terra. I love me my Terra. And I love me my Victoria. I popped for Victoria coming back. I know no one else is going to pop for her. But me, I did. I enjoyed seeing her give a widow's peak to someone who thought that she can do it like a Peyton Royce. Thought she can do a widow's peak like a Victoria. No. Victoria's the only one who could do it and do it right, baby. Now, I got to say this about a couple of things. One, Billie Kay has become so entertaining trying to team up with somebody than she was working in Iconics. And I know there's some people up on Calm. Look, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay are beautiful women. You can have a good life with them. I can understand by Sean Spears marrying a Peyton Royce. I would marry me a Billie Kay. But I'm not going to lie here. As a tag team, they sucked because they were both more managers than they were wrestlers. Now, Peyton Royce has done much better work in the ring. She has. She's improved herself. She improved her character. But Billie Kay, between the two, has become so entertaining, taking around that little 8x10 of herself, trying to get herself over to get a partner. It's much better than she was when she was on Iconics. Now, the opening, you had the returning Naomi versus a Bianca Belair. Both of them start the show along with a Bayley. Now, I know Bayley was number 1 and Naomi was number 2, and then Bianca Belair was number 3. Yes. But this was about Belair. This was all about Belair. She's in my face. I believe I got a shot of her. This was about her rise through the entire thing. You don't normally see someone in the third position get to the end. They don't always make it. They don't. And she did. When I saw Rhea Ripley, I was afraid that when Charlotte came out, that she was going to just eliminate her immediately. And then Rhea Ripley was 14 and Charlotte was 15. Think about that for a minute. You got Charlotte coming in at 15 instead of waiting until maybe when it was 20. You bring in Charlotte right after Rhea Ripley, which is going to make some fans get really pissed off, thinking, oh no, are we going to have another repeat from last year? And it felt like it for most of that match. It did. And then when you bring in Lacey Evans and Ric Flair, and look, I've seen some of the highlights when it comes to those two in their feud with Ric Flair. I have no interest whatsoever with Ric going on the side of Lacey Evans due to the fact of an old, and I repeat this, old 4 to 5 year old story. Because if you guys remember, once Charlotte became really high up, became a champ, she dumped her dad and broke his heart. And we haven't seen him interact with his daughter like that in years. And now all of a sudden, instead of trying to bring it back and say, you know why I did this? Unless I missed an interview where he said I did this because my daughter got rid of me. That's the reason for this story. And there's no context for it. So it doesn't feel like anything. So seeing this going through all of this I didn't care. And then worse, you got someone that's supposed to be a legend. I'm sorry, guys. If you actually believe Alicia Fox is a legend, you got another thing coming. She was 18 when she came into the company. I think 18 or 19 when she came into the company. And since then, yes, she's been champion maybe twice. But to be honest, she screwed herself up becoming an alcoholic and then going to rehab. She's been a mess. And coming back was a nice thing. But calling her a freaking legend is a joke. She's no legend. Victoria is a legend. Mickie James is a legend. Trish Stratus is a legend. You can even say Molly Holly is a legend. But an Alicia Fox is a legend? They can kiss my ass. Alicia Fox is no legend. Mind you, she's a beautiful woman. And I do hope that she straightens herself out and no more drinking and she could actually make something out of her life, whether she goes back into wrestling or never. But she's no damn legend. She will never be a legend. Sorry. That's just me. You guys tell me below. And when it came down to it, the thing that made me happy, one of the things, Naomi lasted 47 minutes. Bayley lasted a little bit longer than her. No, Bayley got out before her. But Naomi lasted 47 minutes. That gave a lot of credibility to Naomi. Really. Especially when it came to Bianca Belair and when she was literally protecting her and only working with her the majority of the time. It seemed that it was an agreement that someone in the back said, look, Naomi, watch out for Bianca. Keep her going until the end when you can be eliminated. That wasn't too bad. And it really helped the match. Because by the time it was at the end, and it was only Shayna Baszler, sorry. It was Rhea Ripley. And it was Bianca Belair. Because you did have Shayna Baszler in there. You did have Nia Jax because they just won the tag titles. They got taken out. They were done. Still, seeing those last two was a wonderful thing to see. And it made sense. I believe there was only two people who should have won it. It was either Naomi, because we haven't seen her do something in WrestleMania in a while, or Bianca Belair. And if you had to say a distant third, had to be a Rhea Ripley. But I didn't believe they were going to do anything with Rhea, but use her to put somebody over. Because of the way she's been booked for so long, there's no way they're going to actually just let her just have the Royal One. I love me Rhea Ripley. She's a gorgeous New Zealander. I believe, no, either she's in New Zealand or is she Australian. I think she's Australian. I can't remember. You guys tell me below, is she New Zealander like Dakota Kai, or is she from Australia? I believe she's from Australia. But I could be wrong, and I think she really is from New Zealand. She's been treated like crap for almost a year now, since she lost to Charlotte at that Royal Rumble. So she's done nothing. Let's move on. Now, we had, how can I say this? It was last man standing match. That match really was a surprise. They tried to make it very personal, which they did. You at one point, you had Kevin Owens literally run, and this sounds like something that came from AEW. I'm sorry. AEW did it first when Sammy Guevara got run down by a Matt Hardy. But you had a Kevin Owens go through a plexiglass of a I believe I got it in my face. It was surprising to see they went there. But the entire story was to prove that Kevin Owens could hang with a tribal chief. It was all about that. And by the end of the entire match, which I gotta say was actually a pretty good match. It was. I know everyone else may not totally agree with me. But once you see that the tribal chief, he thought he finally nailed the Kevin Owens, putting him through the LED screen. It was like he decided, I'm gonna have to do whatever I'm gonna do. And he went somewhere, went to Paul, got the handcuffs, grabbed that handcuff, whacked a Kevin Owens in the face multiple times with it. He wanted to knock him out so he can put it on, but he couldn't. And then eventually, he gets wiped out, and then he gets handcuffed to one of the struts of the lighting. And he is being counted. He cannot get free. Kevin Owens is still dazed, exhausted, but he's being counted and Kevin Owens is still standing up. He decides to grab the ref and whack him into one of the lighting fixtures to knock him out, to give him time. And then Paul comes in with the key, and at one point, and this is where things get a little messed up in the match, Paul could not free a Roman Reigns. It looks like that Kevin Owens might have chained him a little too tight, to the point where he could not get enough slack to try and undo the key. Because I think what happened was that when Kevin Owens chained him with that handcuff, he put him in a position that was too tight, and it was not possible for a Roman Reigns to stretch himself normally. He had to really stretch himself, and that took a minute. And the ref just stopped counting, and they switched over to Kevin Owens to try and give him more time, because he should have already been counted out. He was supposed to be counted out because he was still sitting on his butt, and he was not on his knees, and he was not on his feet. He should have been counted out, but he wasn't. He wasn't counted out, and they continued. Once he got free, because he did get free, he put the rear naked choke, or the guillotine, I'm sorry, not the guillotine on a Kevin Owens, and that is how he beat him. He beat him with that guillotine. Done. He was out like a light, and his mouth was busted open. You can see, I believe I got that shot. If I don't, well, sorry. But he pretty much wiped his ass out with that guillotine. That was done. Over. Now, we had, let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything because I know I could forget something. And, let me see. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, the 24/7 championship is now in the hands of Rosenberg because Alicia Fox won it at the Women's Royal Rumble. Then R-Truth won it back. And then Rosenberg, I believe his name is Rosenberg, he got it now. I think I got a picture of them, and I don't even know if I do. I don't understand why they keep the 24/7 championship. They could be doing something else with R-Truth. R-Truth is extremely charismatic and fun, but this is boring. He's boring now. Now, the Men's Royal Rumble. And I was very surprised on the decision that was made. I was. When it came to the opening, when I saw Edge and Orton, I felt there was two things. One, they were setting something up. And then when Orton got hurt, it was either they're setting something up way, way too soon, or Orton was actually hurt, which made it even more stupid. That they shouldn't have rushed. They shouldn't have had this part of their feud. They could have had them chasing around, but they could have had it with more people there, and it was wrong to do it. And if Orton had been hurt, this was stupid. But he didn't get hurt, of course. But still, to see it that early in the match, it was just those two in the beginning fighting one another outside before the match even got started, and then Orton getting whacked in the leg. It just felt so telegraphed. It was stupid. I didn't think anything other than Orton coming at the end of the show. Now, once you had that, you had at one point some people coming back, and one that I never thought I would ever see again in a WWE ring because he was never happy about how his father was treated and how his brother Primo was treated. You got Carlito showing up. How many years has it been? 12 or 13 or 14 years? I don't even remember how long it's been since Carlito has been in a WWE ring. I don't remember. It was wonderful to see him. The guy is jacked. He looks like that, unlike me, who's got fat. He looked great. And it was shocking to see him back. The Hurricane. Really? Really? I did not want to see Hurricane in the match. I think I'd rather seen Santino Marella than Hurricane. That's just me. But the people that I thought looked really good was Big E. Big E looked really good. I did enjoy how he was doing his work. Riddle, working with Daniel Bryan, was actually good. The thing that got me, when I saw first Big E dealing with Lashley, I believe I got a shot at both of them, it made me think, I am interested in seeing a Lashley win the WWE Championship and then having Big E go up against him. Lashley has been champion, even if it was ECW, and he's been an IC champion, and I believe a US champion. Yes, that's how he's been. But I would love to see Lashley put over a Big E, and that feud looks like it might be interesting. Really would. That's what I was thinking. And then you see that he got eliminated because of Allman, that comes from AJ. I'm wondering, will he deal with him? Which I don't think he will, but you never know. Then I saw Daniel Bryan going against Matt Riddle, and they did a lot of chain wrestling. It was actually interesting to see Daniel Bryan doing chain wrestling against Matt Riddle at the end of the match. It was really good. I didn't catch any shots of it. I didn't want to. I wanted to watch it. You got two submission wrestlers going against one another, and I found that very interesting. It was fascinating to watch them work, and I know not everyone is going to agree with it, because they're not going to care about seeing chain wrestling coming from Riddle and Bryan. But I felt it was important to say it. Then we got Christian coming back, and I thought he couldn't wrestle anymore because of his neck or his back, but he did wrestle, and he looked good in a wrestling ring. And then when he was working with Edge, it looked really good. They looked great. They felt really good and natural together. If Edge and Christian came back as a tag team, honestly, They probably blew all the tag teams out because they got more character than every tag team that exists other than the New Day or the Usos. And I have to say, I almost forgot, in the Last Man Standings match, Jey Uso did not show up. Or Jimmy. Wonder why. Anyway. We had, who else came back as well? We got Kane that came back. I wasn't surprised about it. But at the end, once Seth Rollins shows up and he begins to eliminate Braun Strowman, he eliminated Christian. No, he eliminated Bryan, he eliminated Riddle, he helped to eliminate Christian, and he helped to eliminate Braun Strowman. Eventually, you got only Edge and Orton left, and in the end, Edge won. We are at the edge. That's pretty much the best way to say it, but also, it's a question, is it the right thing to do? It would have been better if Daniel Bryan had gotten the spot. Hell, I would love Big E or Bobby Lashley getting the spot. I really felt one of them could have been better than Edge, but then you're wondering where they're going to go with Edge. Is he going up against a Roman Reigns? Is he going up against Drew McIntyre? Is it the wisest thing to have Edge go up against Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns for that matter? Will it work? And can Edge stay healthy enough to do it? Because if you saw him going, you can see the tear right here in his pec. That sucker must have been torn really bad for him to be like that. Now, was this, like I said, was this a good pay-per-view? It was. It was much better than I expected it to be. And many people are going to say it was an incredible pay-per-view. No. It was a good pay-per-view. Really it was. I'm not going to say it was a great or an excellent or one of the best you've seen in years. Even though a lot of people did come back, seeing Jillian was good. Seeing a Victoria come back warmed my heart and my soul, baby. I love me some Victoria. She's gorgeous. Still love her. But I just don't believe it was a great pay-per-view. But it was good. But this is just my point of view. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.